Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Grayscale Gorilla show. I'm here with Chad Ashley. How you been, buddy?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Hey, your lighting is too good today, man. Can you fix my lighting?
Yeah. Let me just reach through here.
Do you have an HDR for that or anything?
I do. Yeah. I programmed an HDR for my Hue system, so this is actual lighting from Tahiti at around like 8 o'clock at night. No, I'm
Can you
just
send me
joking.
that file? I need
Yeah,
some
I'll
help
send it
here.
to you. I'll send it.
Need
Really,
some-
the only thing that makes me look halfway human is good depth of field and somewhat decent lighting.
All right,
Otherwise, like you see my gnarly head scar and like all the stuff that makes me a miserable looking person.
Well, I'm gonna step my lighting game up here in a minute. Well, for those of you listening, you may not know, but for those of you watching, you may be wondering, hey, where's the third person? And if you haven't been, following along here at Grayscale Gorilla, we put out an announcement last month, and Chris Schmidt left his full-time employment at Grayscale Gorilla, and we're bummed. We miss you, buddy. But no fear. He is off doing some great stuff. He'll be online. Keep an eye out for Chris. He's got plenty coming in the future. And for those of you asking, now it's probably a good time to talk about it. For those of you asking about the plugins, Chris and his team they're staying on to make sure our plugins are up to date, bug free, and even doing customer support. So if you've dealt with them in the past, look forward to that as well. So we're excited to still continue to work with Chris, just not in a full-time position. So if you're watching, Chris, we miss you, buddy, and we can't wait to see. And we're excited for what you're up to, man.
And NAB.
And NAB. That's right. We're going to be talking about NAB as well. So today we're going to be talking about some GSG news. We're going to be talking about NAB, which is coming up here in a month or so. And get this, we're going to be announcing the winners of the GSG giveaway. It ended up being close to or over like $20,000 in gear, software, all the stuff you need to get your job done. And it's all going to one winner. It's crazy. So we'll be announcing that later in the show as well. We also have some questions from, are these from the Slack channel, Chad?
Yeah, so these are from the GSG Connect Slack, which if you're a GSG customer, you can join the GSG Connect Slack and talk with thousands of other motion designers. And yeah, we pulled some questions from there.
Awesome. So we'll be answering those questions as well. So big show. Been a while since our last show. A lot to talk about. And man, where should we go first? We'll tease the winner. We'll tease the giveaway. Yeah. And let's do some GSG news. I know we just released some new tutorials. Tell us about the latest couple tutorials there, Chad.
So the one we just dropped, the most recent one as of recording of this podcast, was probably the Arnold volume displacement tutorial that our guest tutorial artist Sean Astrom put together, which is based on a technique that a really amazing artist named Lee Griggs developed using Arnold. And he's the guy who's like, you ever seen these like crazy distorted heads and stuff? He kind of started that whole movement.
I remember that name. Yeah, I think we tried to tackle a few of those back in the day, and he's been making some really surreal kind of stuff for a while, right?
Yeah, he's like crazy good surreal artist, and he's a full-time resident artist at Autodesk working on Arnold. Like he just is their resident artist. And so he developed this technique, and it looked so awesome that we wanted to do a tutorial on that technique for a long time. And it just so happens that, Sean Astrom uses Arnold, and I was like, hey, have you ever done this technique? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, we'd love to do a tutorial on the site using that. And so he did that, and that turned out great. Go check that out. It's very, very cool. Then the one right before that, I believe, was your Redshift tips, right?
That's right. I've been diving deep into Redshift ever since I finally got the PC all set up and got used to Windows and everything. One of the things I was most excited about was starting to learn one of these new third-party renderers. And it just so happened we released the Grayscale Gorilla's guide to Redshift around the same time. So I got to watch our own training to learn Redshift and came out of it with a ton of just like tips and things that like sped up my workflow like crazy in Redshift. So I threw my 3 favorite tips on YouTube to kind of show you some things that I didn't know Redshift you know, how easy it was. So definitely check that out if you're using Redshift. I've been having a ball with it, and I've been posting a lot more on Instagram. I joke that before I got my new machine, I was doing still renders. And as soon as I got my new machine and I learned Redshift, I was like,
doing animation.
Oh yeah, animation.
Oh yeah, things can move. That's right. I forgot about that.
Frames don't take 4 hours a frame to render. This is great. A minute a frame. I can animate now. So I've been really excited, and actually Chad's been teaching me a lot of tricks using Redshift and a little bit of Arnold too. So that's been an exciting journey for me. So check out that tutorial if you haven't seen it. And then you had a series of were those in Arnold for the Spider-Verse tutorials?
Yeah. So after I went and saw Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I was just blown away by that movie. Have you seen the movie yet, dude?
No,
my God, you got to see that movie.
I'll wait till I'm on the couch. I got a dog now. I got to sit on my couch and watch movies. Okay. Can't go out.
That's right. You do. And I think it's actually out on digital right now. I think you can either buy it. You can't rent it yet, but I think you can buy it. Anyway, so I saw that movie and I was like, holy crap, man, there's like so many awesome like shading techniques. And I had already done a little bit of halftone stuff before that movie came out in Arnold Toon. Like when they announced Arnold Toon, I was just messing with it and stuff. So when that movie came out and I was sitting there, I was like, wow, I think I understand exactly how I would approach this stuff. So I went back into Arnold and I just started making some tweaks to that shader I'd built before. And then I did a tutorial on it. But then I did the main tutorial, which you may have seen if you've been on our YouTube. But then there's a second tutorial that was basically like an offshoot of that one, where I was like, I wonder if I could take just an image and only using Arnold's node system, like create a CMYK 4-color separation look out of it. Now that one isn't necessarily as much of a like sort of like follow along tutorial, but it was more of like I wanted to show this thought experiment. And so I got Trevor Kerr, who teaches the Redshift training, to help me out with some OSL, and together we put our brains together and figured out how to make it work, and it actually worked like really well. It was kind of crazy. It was kind of a shocking moment when it worked. We were both kind of like, wow, like this is crazy. But yeah, you can do some insane stuff with these tools that we've got, you know. It's pretty nuts when you think about it.
Yeah, and we have quite a few more tutorials planned out, a few of them recorded. Got a strong spring coming, so make sure you're checking out YouTube. That's where we're posting most stuff these days. But also check the blog. We've been doing a ton of interviews, articles that are not necessarily video based, but have ton of great information in there. A lot of stories of artists that we've met over the years that are, you know, doing great work. And so if you haven't checked out the blog in a while, there's been a ton of great stuff over there as well.
Yeah, I'm super stoked on some of these articles that we've been putting out. And sometimes I'm even sort of surprised when I see them like, oh yeah, I forgot we talked about that article, and it comes out and I'm like, holy crap, that's really good. So yeah, go check those out, man. I think we interview Per, how do you say his last name? I'm going to mess it up.
Anders?
The guy that did MoGraph.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I got that right.
Yeah, I think you got it right. I didn't want to butcher the name because I'm terrible.
You'd rather me do it. I'd rather.
Yeah, I was throwing you under the bus. But yeah, anyway, we interview because MoGraph received a technical Oscar, Maxon for the MoGraph module, and yeah, there's a great interview on our site by Mike, who does all of our marketing and writes really great articles about him and like MoGraph and all that, so the history behind that. So it's really cool. Go check it out.
It was great. I was watching the Oscars, and they do that, you know, BS 10-second nod to the technical Oscars on the real Oscars. Sorry, I called it real Oscars. Already off to a bad start.
Wow.
But they do that nod to like the technical Oscars that I think happens like a week ahead of time. And they had this big group photo, and I paused it, and there he was. He's right there in the front row. Like I think he's right there.
Yeah, I think he tweeted it or something too, and I saw it and I was like, dude, that's so cool. Like, can you imagine like just having like that must be a surreal moment for anybody, like to see yourself on the screen like that.
Per Anders like sit in front row, and I paused. I was like, oh, that's the guy. It's the guy made MoGraph, made Cinema 4D was a curiosity until MoGraph came out. And as soon as MoGraph hit and then Dynamics hit, I was like, okay, this is it. This is my life now.
Yeah, I for sure wouldn't be learning this. I would have never learned this software if it weren't for MoGraph. Like, that was the thing that made me like look at it a little bit more closely and like, oh, let me look at this. But if that didn't exist, yeah, I'd probably still be using Max or Maya, to be honest.
Well, make sure you go read that article we have over on the blog, and I'm sure we'll have links to all this stuff down below. And so what else? Let's get back in. We got GSG news, ton of stuff coming up. Let's talk about NAB. So NAB's happening early April. If we were really smart, we would have written all this down. Wrote.
We're not that smart, dude.
I know, but it's early April. Let's go find out when that is. If you're near Las Vegas, it might be hard to find rooms and all that stuff at this point, but if you're near Vegas, please come on by. If you're already coming to NAB, we will see you there. It is the week of the 8th.
You can find, we'll put a link below, but we have a whole page on our site, right? That shows where everything's happening and like all the things that you'll be interested in, hopefully. Like, you can check it out on our page, and we kind of get all the links together so it's easier to follow and stuff.
Yep. And don't forget to, if you're in by Sunday, we're having the MoGraph meetup on Sunday night that we're sponsoring. There's a ton of sponsors and a ton of other people that are making sure that the show happens. But it's one of my favorite nights now after last year. I know it's going to be another hit. Come on by. There's still tickets left. Go to mographmeetup.com and grab a ticket. If you're going to be in Vegas, Sunday, the 6th of April, come on in. And last year was a blast. Ended up being one of my favorite nights of the whole week. So please come on by.
So much fun. It's a blast. Yeah. Like, and what's crazy is like, you'll meet people from all over the world. Like, you sort of kind of know some of the people in these different cities and meetups across the US, but when you go to this place, it's pulling in people from, we had a couple guys last year from Qatar. Remember these guys? They gave us like little keychains and stuff.
I do.
If you're listening, we still have those keychains, and I took them home, and my kids were just like super stoked that like somebody from across the globe kind of came by and said hello. Like that's just really amazing.
Yeah, NAB is a huge event. If you haven't been, it's about broadcasting in general. So there's people there all across the broadcasting world, but that night has become the MoGraph night. That's the place where you're going to look around and see the people that you know from online, from chat rooms, from Instagram. You might know their renders, you might know their tutorials, and it's an awesome night. So please come check it out. Go to mographmeetup.com, and if you're at NAB Sunday night, come say hi at that party. And if you're at the show, come by the Maxon booth. We have a booth that is we have a partner booth with Maxon this year, and we're celebrating our 10 years in business. So this is our 10th year at Grayscale Gorilla. Please come on by and say hi, and check out that article too. So we're gonna be celebrating all year for 10 years. I think we may have talked about this last episode, but I think it was February, was 10 years ago our first tutorial went up on Grayscale Gorilla.
Wow.
It's pretty crazy. So we're celebrating big this year, not only at the party Sunday, all NAB, come on by the booth, and we have a lot more planned here in the next couple months as well. So hope to see you there. Come get some awesome swag.
I still am unclear about the pronunciation of that, but hey, if swag's your thing, we've got that. If swag is your thing, we got that too. So you're covered either way. But we do have, speaking of the 10-year, I don't have any with me, but we are going to have commemorative enamel pins for our 10-year. That'll be very rare. Like this, we're only doing a small run. So if you come to the booth, like make sure you try to get one of those. Obviously we can only do it for 1 year. So this is it. So until 20, like this is it. So come by and grab one. And then we've also got some other cool stuff that I'll just tease it. You have to come by and check it out. But we've got all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah, and we'll have our the computer set up. We have some tools that we're working on, some assets, some stuff to show that's kind of in beta right now. But we always like showing off some stuff that's not quite out yet at NAB. So if you want a little sneak peek at some of the stuff we're working on here, come on by the booth as well and come say hi. And it's a blast. The Maxon booth in general, their lineup is killer this year. I know Chad is doing a presentation. I'm doing a presentation. Just go check out all the amazing artists they have this year over at the Maxon booth.
Just a huge killer lineup, dude. Like so many people. Like it's gonna be nuts. Like I'm gonna be like sneaking away from our booth to like watch presentations and like, or hopefully we're positioned so I can see the screen a little bit, so I can like lean over and like see what's going on. But yeah, the Maxon booth is always crazy, man. It's always just like, you know, people hanging out all day, because ultimately, like NAB, if you think about it, like it's huge. It's ridiculously huge. And most of it is sort of like broadcast stuff, like cameras and I don't know what you call lights, maybe. I don't know. There's like a whole section dedicated to stuff I don't know about. But I feel like the Maxon booth is sort of like the nucleus of the motion design attraction. You know, like everybody sort of like hangs around there, and just all the motion designers are there in the Adobe booth, a little bit of the Blackmagic kind of floating around between those booths. But it's always blast, man.
So I don't know if you've seen this too in the last couple of years. It's been obviously MoGraph and that set of tools kind of brought in the motion designers, but in the last couple of years, they've brought not only to the booth as presenters, but also people wandering around the booth, a ton more like ArcViz people, a ton more product viz. VFX was something that Cinema 4D users like traditionally didn't get into as much, but now there's like tons of amazing VFX artists they're bringing in. So if you're, into 3D stuff at all, make sure you come by the Maxon booth. I think that's been the biggest kind of trend over the last couple of years that I've seen, is just, it's not only motion design anymore. And it's great. It's great to have, new industries around and to talk to them and to see these artists that Maxon brings in that are from all over 3D, AR, VR, all this stuff is coming into cinema. So come check it out. Tell your friends, hey, that's what I meant to say. Tell your 3D friends, they're like, oh, the MoGraph tool over there, say, no. Come on in and come hang out with this crew. And tell them
a great crew. Great crew.
Great crew. Anyway, so hope to see you at NAB. If not, I think they're also streaming it live. So make sure you check out the Maxon page and learn about their live show. And all right, what else we got? Well, we have two things we could do right now, Chad.
Okay.
We can announce the winner of the Grayscale Gorilla giveaway. Okay. Should we do that?
Well, yeah, dude. Like that's, first of all, before you do that, tell me, I can't remember what
cliffhanger.
I remember the big prizes, but we had a lot of prizes, right? Like a lot of prizes.
Yeah. So if you are just hearing about this, boy, do I feel bad for you, because we
that's such a jerk thing to say.
we had our biggest giveaway ever, and it went through February, and it's to celebrate our 10 years as Grayscale Gorilla, and we can't thank our sponsors and people that donated these prizes to this giveaway enough. And so I just wanted to share with you what the winner is going to get here, and it's a ton of great stuff. So and we'll announce the winner right after this, I promise. After 4 more commercial breaks, right? 4 more commercial breaks,
we
then we got to tease it, and then do the music build up, and then recap what we did before.
Just
after the commercial.
Stop.
All right. So the winner gets a Razer Blade 15-inch laptop. Everything from Grayscale Gorilla, all of our tools, plugins, assets, materials, lighting, everything from us. Cinema 4D R20 from Maxon. Thanks for sponsoring. Right. It keeps going. And a copy of Arnold and Redshift. Can't decide? Take them both. Play with them both. I've been playing with them both, and that's a killer setup
Render
there.
one frame in Redshift, one frame in Arnold, and just keep back and forth until you're done.
Nobody will notice. The entire suite of tools from Red Giant, tons of great stuff. Always loved Red Giant over there. Thanks for sponsoring. The Ultimate 3D Studio Bundle from Video Copilot, and that's full of killer stuff, including Element 3D, which I've been playing with recently as well. You also have DaVinci Resolve Studio from Blackmagic.
Oh, dang, I didn't know that was in there, dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all the good stuff. A School of Motion boot camp seat. So any School of Motion class, any boot camp that you want to join, you could pick a seat. We have Stardust from Superluminal, been playing with that as well. We have $1,000 credit to Pixel Plow, a $2,000 credit from Action VFX, a $500 credit to Premium Beat, and a $200 credit to Turbo Squid. Yeah, quite the lineup.
Wow.
So many of you signed up, and we thank you for doing that, and thanks for helping us celebrate 10 years. Thanks to all of our sponsors. And I'm going to announce not only the winner, but also 10 more winners that get smaller groups of prizes, including Grayscale Gorilla tools and some other stuff I'll mention. But let's get into the big winner. Can we get the drum roll? What's the 3D
I hope it's
equivalent?
me. I hope it's me.
Sad, actually. All right, here we go. Ready? Oh, I shook it. I shook it loose. Ladies and gentlemen, the big winner of the Grayscale Gorilla 10-year anniversary giveaway is Greg from North Hollywood, California. Give it up. Give it up for Greg.
Nice job, Greg. Greg, yeah. I expect big things, Greg.
Yeah, Greg. I want your Instagram account up within minutes of receiving this stuff.
Better be some sick vids.
Congrats, man. Thank you so much for joining. And if you did not hear your name, let me announce a few more winners. This next group of winners, 5 more people are winning. These are the next series of runners up. They're going to get their Grayscale, excuse me, how do you say this word? Grayscale Gorilla tool of their choice, and a $500 credit to Premium Beat, and some GSG apparel, some new some of that swag we were talking about.
Yeah, bathrobes and.
All right, let me run through the names. We got. We're not gonna say last names, so I'll say your first initial, so you know it's you. Hopefully, we're already getting in touch with you. We have Daniel G, Kenji M, Arena Z, Peter A, and Fiona G. Congrats to you. Thank you for joining. We have, yeah, absolutely. We have one more list here, and this this group of winners is going to win their Grayscale Gorilla tool of choice, some bathrobes, and a Grayscale.
Now we have to make bathrobes.
I'm really on the hook. Yeah, I think it'll be more like a T-shirt, plus a copy of Stardust from Superluminal. And this is, here are the 5 names. We got Ryan S, Eric L, Derek K, Matthew H, and Zachary A. And if any of you are watching right now, thank you again for joining. If you signed up at all and were a part of this, thanks for celebrating with us. It's been really fun. It was really awesome to just have this like energy behind our 10-year anniversary. We have plenty more to come this year. So we should be getting a hold of you through your email and everything that you put up through the giveaway. But congrats to all the winners. And thanks again to all of our sponsors that made this stuff possible. I appreciate it. Amazing. All right. So cool. So let's, unless there's other NAB announcements or anything we could think of, let's get into some Q&A from our Slack channel. And I know you mentioned it before, Chad, but we're always doing extra stuff in our Slack channel. And if you've ever purchased anything from Grayscale Gorilla, you have access to this Slack channel. There's plenty of conversations happening behind the scenes, a lot of questions being answered, a lot of artists, working and helping each other. And we've even seen jobs, happen in the Slack channel. So it's where our best customers and people that are doing this stuff for a living are hanging out. Make sure you go check it out if you haven't been to our Slack channel. And if you're wondering where that is, you just log into your account, and I think it's the first thing at the top, like instructions on how to log in to our Slack.
It's pretty
anyway.
It's pretty easy.
Chad, you reached out to them and asked them for some questions, and I think we can get to it.
So
let's do it.
Let's see. Steven or Stefan? I'm probably going to get that wrong, but just forgive me.
It's like Urkel. It's Stefan.
Maybe it is, but there's no A, so maybe not. All right. Steven wants to know, Nick, what's the update on the PC situation? Are you going to stick it out, or are you going to jump to the Mac Pro modular Mac when that comes out? I already know the answer to this question, but I want to hear you say it.
Chad's been living this answer more than he wants to, because every time I have a PC problem, I bug him.
There's a red phone on my desk that just goes directly to you. I ignore it all the time. Yeah, it's like it's the PC phone.
but it's got the GSG logo on it. It spins when you open it up. Hello, Batman. So the Windows machine, I'm on it right now. And it's pretty much as expected. So a lot of people, including Chad, said, hey, it can be kind of a pain sometimes, but once you're in Cinema 4D, once you're in After Effects, once you're in programs that you're familiar with, it mostly is the same. So as long as you can get past some of those quirks, you're okay. I think that for the most part would be my experience with this setup. It's definitely not as user-friendly. I'm still a Mac lover. I'm still a huge Mac fanboy. And if Apple comes out with a machine that is spec-wise anywhere close to this machine, I will definitely be at least trying it out. I would love to have this speed on a Mac platform on a iOS, or not iOS, OS X, feeling machine. So yeah, I mean, I could get into details if you want. I think we might have a video or an article coming out where I talk a little bit more detail in some of my pros and cons with the Switch. But I'll say that, I'm not a fan of Windows. I'll say that.
I don't think anybody really is.
Maybe
somebody out there is a total fan, and that's great. But yeah, I mean, I tolerate it. Let's just say that.
Not even Bill Microsoft. He's not a fan.
I'm sure he is.
He's got his laptop. He's an iPad guy. I could tell. Secret iPad guy. Bill Microsoft. So so Windows, not very intuitive, kind of clunky. The Finder in Windows, or the file manager, still looks like it was made in the 90s. Like it's not a good experience. And I will say as well, like every time I have to update drivers and I have to make sure, all these little tech things that I never had to mess with come up. Not only is it a thorn in my side, because it's like, well, I don't want to be a technician and update my drivers. It's something I don't want to do. I don't want to do this. But it also takes away from my time, but also my energy. I don't know. I think a lot of creative people are like this. They have an idea, and maybe they haven't had an idea in a while. They haven't found something really creative to be behind. And then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, let's go open up Cinema. Let's go make this crazy thing. And then I open it up and I'm like, oh, okay. I think I might have to update some drivers. I'm having this issue here. I gotta restart. I gotta do this thing. And by the time it's all over, it's like, well, it's not that I just lost the time. It's that my momentum kind of deflated. So I don't know. It's fine.
I think I know why, though. So this is the problem that I've seen you struggle with, is not necessarily. It's number one, you're having to get used to a completely new experience, and that sucks. Like, that's going to take time. But what makes it even harder is that you're isolated. We all work remotely, so you can't just like walk over and be like, yo, is this right? Like, should this be faster? Should that be faster? Like, what am I doing? Do I need? But in an island, working remotely on a machine by yourself without anybody being able to like walk over and like dive into it, it's hard. And then getting used to a completely different workflow is also hard and frustrating. But I think over time, you will hate it less. You won't. You'll never love it. Nobody expects you to love it. Nobody out there, I think, has any sort of like notions that you're going to be a year from now being like Windows is the best. Like that's just never going to happen. But I think like most designers that sort of succumb to the Windows platform, you eventually come to accept it, and you just sort of like just live with it. It's not anything you're excited about. It's not anything you love, but I've
had those feelings. Yeah. Like I know what you're saying, because when it's all working, that's how I feel. Like this is fine. Like right. It's fast. Like I'm burying the lead. It's like more than 10 times faster than my old machine because of all these new rendering technologies I could use now. It is like in the way that I could work in real time, it's leaps and bounds from my Mac. And in the way that I could render beautiful depth of field renders in like a minute a frame, it is right. Leaps and bounds from my old workflow, let's say. So that, heck yes, times 20, I love this machine. And when I open up Cinema and I get to play and Redshift, learn Arnold and play around with lighting and materials and like have an idea and just put it on screen and have it render with depth of field in minutes with using like Redshift and like some of our tools to like speed up all this stuff, like going through that workflow, I am peak Windows. Like I get it. I understand why I own this thing. So yeah, it's good and bad. So I think as long as you go into it with that knowledge, like it won't be perfect, but you get all this power,
right?
Then it's fine. And to answer the other part of the question, we'll move on. Heck yeah, if Apple comes out with a modular Mac or whatever they call this thing, I know the rumors look a little crazy right now, but assuming they come out with a machine that is similarly spec'd or gives me a similar amount of power to do similar things, heck yeah, I'm going to try it out.
I mean, yeah, that's a no-brainer, man. I would even try that out because I haven't worked on a Mac since, God, I can't even tell you. Like, I don't even remember the last time I had one. But yeah, I mean, if they could match the power, like, and they squash their NVIDIA beef and like accept NVIDIA as a potential, cards for Mac, that'd be great. Like, I would even try that. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I just want the day where I could log into whatever machine I for them.
That's gonna happen.
I need that, man. I just want it. That's
a thing, I'm sure.
All right, let's go. Let's do another question.
All right, next question. Liam would like to know, what were your first jobs ever?
Oh, we just talked about this.
We just had a meeting about that.
You want to go first, Chad, or you want me to
go? Yeah, I'll go first. Man, I got to think back what my actual first job was because I had a few. I would say that my first real job was probably at Six Flags Great America. And I was working in games. And so I was working Can Do, Crystal Pitch, and I was the Amazing Alfredo.
What's the Amazing Alfredo?
I would guess your age, weight, or month of birth. And I had to get within a certain, amount. And basically I was a carny barker. Like I just like barked and like tried to get people over and like get their money and get them to play this silly game, which was all chance. There was absolutely no rhyme or reason to it. And a lot of people were like, well, I don't like, I can win this game. And it's like, yeah, you're kind of supposed to win because the prizes they give out at that game were freebies that they would give us for ordering thousands and thousands of other prizes.
Whoa, I'm really interested now.
Yeah.
So if you order like 20 giant Garfields or whatever to give away at the big expensive game, part of the, like all the little freebie small toys is what you would win. So the $5 you're playing, $5, it's all money. It's all free money.
Yeah, it's all money.
That's just pay Alfredo. And
like literally, that's what it is. It's like, oh, might as well. Because most of the time I would lose. Like I got pretty good at weight and age, but month of birth is just like completely random. And I would sort of have fun with it and like guess way over on the weight and the age just to piss people off. And it was so much fun to just sit there and just like toy with their emotions. You'd get a crowd going, and then, there's some guy was like, wants you to guess his wife's age, and you think she actually looks maybe like 30, but then you say like 50, and like she gets all mad, and like it's a great time. It was a lot of fun. And I looked like I was like 10 years old too, so it was kind of like this 10-year-old kid carny barking at people.
Being a smartass.
Yeah, just being a smartass, like, wearing ridiculous outfits because their outfits were awful, just awful. I think I had bell bottoms or something. I don't remember.
And then what's your first entry into this world? How did you end up?
So the real like first entry into 3D, I got a job at a small studio in Milwaukee, Wisconsin called Cybertunes that did a lot of amazing 3D for ESPN and other broadcast networks. And I didn't even know 3D. I got in there because I was a traditional animator. I had a background in traditional animation. And they were looking for animators that knew how to animate, not necessarily people that knew computers. So I got there and I had to learn Unix. I had to learn Power Animator, which became Maya. I had to learn how to work my way around in a Unix environment, which was like, it was hard. But yeah, I kind of like learned the ropes there and how to animate. I was actually just brought on to animate, like that was my only job. And then I got into lighting and rendering a little bit, and then I sort of like kind of became more of a generalist, and then came to Chicago, bounced around at a few post houses, and then ended up with you at Somersault.
Yeah, it was such a romantic day.
It was a fun time.
Meeting you, Chad. 04? No, it would have been 05, 06.
Yeah, Mr. Creamy Orange.
Oh my gosh, way back.
Yeah. That?
Yes.
Was that your first job in the industry?
My first full-time job was at Avenue Edit, where I met you. I did a little bit of freelance for long enough to know I didn't want to do freelance for like. I could have done well at freelance. People knew Creamy Orange. People knew me. But I just wanted to sit around other talented people and learn from them. And freelance was not the place to do that. That was like work from home. Like you said, about being isolated with my machine, not being able to like ask about my machine and all that. That's how I would have been with After Effects and Cinema 4D. And right. I knew I wanted to get around other smart, talented people. Luckily, I bumped into you. And then later had the opportunity to work at Digital Kitchen, where I got to work with just amazing talent. And then you finally came to DK, and that story's told. Well, so I'll go back to my first job, and I know I told you and the team this. We literally talked about this a couple months ago at one of our meetings. But my first job was I was 14 or 15 years old. I think I was 15. Couldn't drive, but I could almost drive. And my parents, I was lucky enough to have parents that liked work, and they always sat around at the kitchen table and talked about their day and asked me about my day at school and all this stuff. We just had this kind of family time where we talked about it. And my dad, for the most part, liked his job as a fireman, and he was going up the ranks, and it was talk about being a paramedic and a fireman and learning new things, and he would always talk about that. And my mom was a roller skating coach. So just like ice skating for the Olympics, where they do the jumps and the couples like pick each other up and do spins and stuff, she does that for roller skating and is like world-class coach. And so I was lucky enough to always have parents that really loved their job. And so at 15, when they said, "Hey, go get a job," you're 15, like got to start to figure this stuff out and get paid. And like I was notoriously like never get up early. Like I was always sleeping in. But I think it was kind of a two ploy thing. It was like, hey, we have to make sure this kid can like support himself. And two, maybe he'll actually get up in the morning. So I wandered into the mall, which is where you go, and in the suburbs to go get a job. And it never dawned on me to go get a traditional like first job. for some reason, I was always interested in like being around other people that were good at something, or having time to like learn something. And so I approached it by like going to the bookstore, and I went to the toy store, and I went to like things that I went to as a kid. There was like a science store that sold all these, you know, cool science toys. And then in the middle of the mall, there was those kiosks, which were kind of new at the those little in the hallways of the mall thing. And this dude was selling magic tricks. And I just so happened to be an amateur magician because I was obsessed with like card tricks and stuff as a kid, you know, 12, 13 years old. I learned card tricks. I learned how to use like fake decks to do tricks and all that. And I walked up, and they were hiring, and they handed me a card deck that just so happened to be the same one I was using for a while. And they said, show me some tricks. And I did my whole routine. And this routine I've been like practicing on, you know, family members for years. And he's like, you're hired. So I was like, that was easy.
Did he like disappear in a puff of smoke after saying that?
You're hired. He had a cape, and then the cape just fell to the ground.
Yeah, you're like, what? Wait, where do I get my check? I don't understand.
So that was great. Like my mom literally drove me to the mall, and I sold magic tricks. I basically walk up to people buying actual things in the mall and say, hey, do you want to learn a magic trick? And when they asked the thing that everybody asks, which is, how do you do that? I tried to sell them the trick. That was my first job. And I loved it. And it started this whole, I'll call it career. I started this whole career of like trying to learn things at the mall, becoming as good as I could at them, and then trying to sell those things. And so I went from selling magic tricks to selling yo-yos, became a yo-yo salesman for a while.
That's right. Yeah, I think you told me that once.
And that was one of my favorite jobs as well. And then simultaneously, I was also working at the roller rink where my mom worked. And I got a job there as the DJ / floor guard. I got to yell at kids that were going too fast and play the YMCA and the Ghostbusters. Yeah. Here's what you play. You play Ghostbusters on Family Day. You got to play Ghostbusters. Everybody loves the Ghostbusters song. Everybody loves YMCA.
That's true.
Gotta do. You gotta do Elvira. That was a hit. Remember that song?
Oh my
Elvira?
gosh, yeah.
Okay, then you got Gap Band. Gap Band is #1 roller skating music. Okay, You Dropped a Bomb on Me, all that stuff. Then you got Daz. I know this wasn't the question. I'm just reliving childhood.
Now he's building a playlist in his head of roller skate music now. We're going to be here a while.
Look for my playlist on Spotify of roller skating music. It'll be coming soon.
That should happen.
Oh, Brick House. Brick House was big. Brick House
yeah,
was good.
I can imagine. Yeah, that one. I'm trying to think of ones that I would have heard, but I'm not as good as at the song names as you are, so I can't remember them off the top of my head. But
oh, what a
funny stuff.
So
all right.
So yeah, that's my first jobs.
Nice. All right, we'll do like maybe one more. I think we got time for maybe one more.
I'm in.
Let's see. Let me pick.
Thanks
one
for the
out
questions, by the way. Those of you who sent them in. Liam,
yes,
thanks for the question.
All right. Well, this one is, I'm going to reword it slightly. So Liam has had another question. I think a pretty good question. In a devastating event, and Maxon went away for some reason, disappeared, like, Thanos snap style. What would we be using if we weren't using Cinema 4D?
Oh, interesting. I think I want you to go first on this.
I know. I'm like, that's an easy one for me though, because I've only been using Cinema 4D for like 3.5 years, 4 years, I think.
Yeah.
So for me, but then again, I'm not sure I would go back to 3ds Max or Maya even. I don't know. That's a tough one. I think I might try to do Houdini and like try to learn that. It seems pretty cool, even though it's like sometimes I feel like it's so above my head. But yeah, I feel like that one is interesting. So maybe that one.
So if you had a client job, you had to do it, probably 3ds Max.
Well, if I had a client job like tomorrow and I didn't have time to like learn Houdini, then I would use, then I would probably use Max or Maya. Yeah, one of those two. Probably Maya. Or no, actually, that depends on what it would be, actually. I don't know. If it's dynamics, then I'd probably do something in Maya. But if it was like something more product driven, then I would do it in 3ds Max. But I think ultimately I would try to learn Houdini and see if it would be a good everyday, like, use it on projects kind of tool or not. I don't know. I mean, I see stuff that program does, and it blows my mind. But then I watch a video, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm following along. And then they jump into Vex or something, and they start like scripting by hand, and I'm like, yeah, see, I'm out. Like, I am not gonna be able to do that. Like,
and you disappear in a cape.
Yeah, like that's when I do my magic trick. I'm like, poof. Like, give me nodes all day. Like, I can like come up with everything. Like, the fact that it's node based is awesome. I think that's great. My brain already sort of works that way. But the second you start throwing in code into it, my brain shuts down. Like, that'll be the biggest challenge for me learning that tool, is trying to like understand that side of it, because I think in order to use it well, you do have to know how to do some of that stuff. At least that's what Trevor is telling me. And Trevor's been pushing me to learn that tool, God, since the day I met him, practically. I can't escape it.
It does look amazing. It does look amazing, though. Well, let's see. I don't know how I would approach it. I don't have the history with other 3D packages the way Chad does, so I don't know how I would answer like a client needs something and they need it done. The closest I have right now is After Effects. So, I fell back into After Effects recently over the last couple of years, mostly because while I was busy obsessing over Cinema 4D, there was a whole group of talented, plugin makers and coders and developers making incredible 3D. I hesitate to call them plugins, like 3D, systems inside of After Effects. So if it was a MoGraph type job, I would open up Element 3D. It was playing around with it recently. I was like, it was so much more capable than I originally gave it credit for. And the MoGraph style tools that are built in, and the way that you could control type, and how fast it renders, and all these things that I knew it did, but I didn't put my hands on it till recently, I would probably jump into there. And to have something like, we just talked about them with the giveaway, Stardust. So Superluminal, they have this incredible particle plugin for After Effects as well, that is not just traditional particles with like little dots floating around, but like real geometry that you could load in, real reflections, and use HDRIs and all this stuff. And so you combine that with all the amazing like trap code stuff and all the Red Giant stuff you can get, and there's tons of tools all over the place where I found myself thinking that I could be pretty dangerous with After Effects and Element 3D and a couple other plugins, and really like tackle some real client work. Not photoreal, not always, super photoreal, like interiors for, like an ArcViz kind of thing, but
yeah, for like motion designy 3D stuff, absolutely. Like, I feel like that's a totally viable route, and I feel like that's what Cinema 4D is really good at. It kind of sits in this middle ground place, like between the Element, After Effects 3D, and the Houdini like complicated thing, is this tool that can kind of like bleed out into both sides of that market, which I think is really unique. So really what we're saying is we hope that would never happen so that we wouldn't have to.
I think what I'm also seeing is a lot of our customers are thinking of it in a new way. Like 3D software used to be so expensive. Like, how much was Maya back in the day? I remember like a crazy number, like 10 grand or something.
Yeah, it was around, I think it was around that. Yeah, and then they dropped the price a few times, but Yeah, I mean, back in the day, like I think there's actually I spoke at Half Res in 2016, I
Mm-hmm.
believe. And my presentation, I sort of broke down like how crazy approachable 3D is right now from a tech standpoint, from a money standpoint. And I actually have some slides where I show you how expensive it was to do 3D
Oh yeah.
in the late 90s, early thousands, and it is crazy. It
Yeah,
is
because it wasn't just the
nuts.
software; it was your machine was, 50 grand or whatever. Like you
Mm-hmm.
had this
Yeah.
machine, some SGI or whatever, that was
Mm-hmm.
just nuts. And so, thinking about it that way, I guess what I'm seeing in our industry and in 3D in general is that people used to pick a program and then only do jobs that that program could do because they didn't have the flexibility to like change 3D, software or experiment even. Like it was hard to do that. So in the past, you bought the expensive machine, you bought one of these platforms and only used it. And if you couldn't do it with that platform, you either, said no to the job or, gave it to a friend or whatever. And now I think I'm seeing we're living in a world where you can know 3 or 4 different software platforms and 3D platforms and pick the one that is right for the job. And we have friends that actually, they'll get a bid, they'll say, hey, this is more of a Cinema 4D job with Redshift. And then they'll get another bid and they'll say, okay, this one's more of a After Effects Element 3D type thing. It's more, simple or I need this fast up the field, so I'll do it in After Effects or whatever. And so now they're able to choose the tool based on the job rather than the other way around, because it's, for a lot of reasons, it's easier to learn because of things like YouTube and Vimeo and all this stuff and tutorials that are coming out. It's less expensive. And like you said in your presentation, the machines are way less expensive to be able to pull this stuff off. What I could do on my machine now was like unthinkable 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
Oh yeah,
Um,
totally.
and so we have this new world at least this is kind of how I'm seeing it. I know you're seeing this too. People are less choosing their platform rather than understanding that they want to just pick the right tool for the job. So a lot of people will know a little bit. Maybe they do know a little bit of Houdini and Cinema 4D,
Mm-hmm.
or they know After Effects and Cinema, or they know, like you've gone through this through, at least 3 major platforms.
Yeah, I feel like what I'm seeing is people being less beholden to a specific strict workflow or set of tools. Like I'm seeing a lot of people saying, well, I need to do this type of job. Well, I don't know that type of software. I don't know the software that I need to make that, but I'm going to go learn it over the weekend, or at least get good enough to export an Alembic or whatever it is that you need to get in and out. Like I'm seeing a lot of people not really worry about where it's being done and just figure out that program, learn it enough to get what you need done, get it all back in the cinema and render it out and light it. But I'm seeing a lot of people not being so, I guess they're not restricted in a lot of ways, and I think it's totally refreshing to see people pick tools based on their job rather than like, well, I bought it and I guess I have to use only this, and no matter what job comes in, I'll try to get this to work. But a lot of people I think now are just like, well, I need to do I don't know, destruction effects. I'm going to learn a bit of Houdini. If I need to do a quick title, depth of field, logo job, I'm going to learn Element 3D. Like they'll just sort of like pick and choose, which is awesome. It's great.
Yeah, I think there used to be some stigma to some of this stuff too. And I think more and more people are realizing that your client doesn't care how it's made. They don't
Right.
they don't care they don't care how expensive your software was that you rendered this on, or what plugin you use to help make this faster or more beautiful. Like they want the final thing, and they want it oftentimes faster and faster for less and less money. So it's like, all right, well, sometimes I can't afford to go make this all from scratch. And sometimes, I just have to get this done and get the paycheck so I could go work on some other more fun stuff. Like there's so many ways to think about it. And it's something, you know, it always dawns on me every few weeks as well, which is, you know, it's the amount of stuff that we could do now. Well, I'll just say this as we wrap up. The ability for me to have an idea, and with my new machine and some software like Redshift and some awesome materials that Chad made that I use constantly, and our lighting, like I'm now able to like have an idea, mock it up roughly, texture it, light it, render it in minutes, and have somewhat of a feeling of like, am I going down the right path? Is this even worth spending more time on? Because now I don't have to work in this gray world and then wait on rendering later because it took so long. I could like see it very quickly and get an idea like, am I going down the right path? And I can imagine people that are doing more client work can use a tool like that and a workflow like that to kind of see if it's even possible. Like a bid comes in and they're like, I think I could pull that off. And the difference between I think I could pull it off and yeah, I think I could pull it off is everything. That's the ability for you to like put a bid in with confidence and say, yes, I could do this. And these tools and assets, like the world that we live in now and the machines that we can have in our like bedrooms now, allow us to pull off some pretty amazing magic tricks. Hey, I pulled it all the way back around.
Whoa.
Poof.
There you go. I thought you fell. I was like, oh no, we got to call the ambulance.
Nah. Well, hey, thanks folks. Thank you, Chad. And we'll be doing you know, not weekly, but more of these shows in the future, just kind of catching up. We always love hearing what you have to say. And hey, if you're watching this on YouTube, you watched this far, you're either you had your headphones on and you're working and you're like, what? Like, I can't believe I'm still listening to this. Or maybe you're in your car and you're like, there's literally nothing else to do. So I'm listening to this entire thing. Leave us a comment. We want to hear from you. If you have a question for the next show, if you have feedback, you have, you know, anything to add to this conversation, we always love seeing that stuff. And so head on over to our site or YouTube as well. We look at all the comments on YouTube. Come say hi, and thank you for watching. Anything else, Chad, before we prep for NAB? Hopefully we'll see you in NAB.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see y'all at NAB, and hopefully you have a great week.
Have a great week. Ugh. Have a great week.
A Greek week?
Greek week.
All right. Bye, everybody.
I need a drink.